Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Ms. Wood, could we have a roll call today, please?
Mayor Salvo.
Present.
Vice Mayor Crozier.
Present.
Ms. Byrne. Present. Mr. Hunter.
Present.
Mr. Tucker.
Present.
Thank you. We have a couple of presentations tonight. The first is Nathan Stanford from Mountain Express who will give us an update regarding the bus.
First of all, thank you for your time. Hopefully my remarks will be brief. I've met a couple of you, but not everyone. My name's Nathan Sanford. I work for Radar. We're based out of Roanoke. I'm the Director of Regional Transit, which, among other things, means I supervise the Mountain Express system that operates here in the Highlands. I'm the day-to-day supervisor. We've been in meetings the last couple of years with Mr. Douglas, and he asked me last month to come up and give you guys a little bit of an update on what's been happening. If you have any questions along the way, just let me know. The Mountain Express is a deviated fixed route system that's been operating here in the Highlands since, I believe, 1996. Since 2008, it's been a two-bus system. It operates from Monday through Friday to 8 to 5. It's public transportation. That means anyone who can get to a bus stop can catch the bus if they pay the fare. It's also the deviated part of the deviated fixed route. It's really two services in one. Folks with qualifying disabilities that live within 3/4 of a mile of the fixed route can apply for a service where they're allowed to schedule trips in advance. This makes it so that we can go off the route and get people at their homes who can't make it down to the bus stops, and then we'll take them along to their destinations. We do 80,000 miles and about 4,500 hours of service in a calendar year. The service is it's public transportation. It's funded by a combination of federal, state, and local funds. It's 50% funded by the federal government. Typically, the state chips in some variable amount, around 15, 17%, and the rest is left to the localities to come up with. Here, we have a split between the city and the county, both paying a roughly equal share. Things have changed in recent years where we had a bit of a local funding gap, and the localities came together and decided that they would be willing to match donations to the system. We are a private nonprofit, so we can receive donations. And that's been in effect for last year and then going into this year, where when we receive enough donations, the city and the county will match them up to a certain level until we are fully funded.
Have you got some, has that worked?
It has. Last year we ended up, I think, coming just barely over what we needed. And we were able to roll some of that into this current year, and we've already received enough donations this year to cover through the operating year through the end of September 2018. The big help there is the state kicked in more money. Now, we don't know if we can count on that going forward, but they increased their level to, I almost think it was more like 26% of the total cost, which means your local amount went down. In years past, it's been roughly $62,000. This year, it's going to be more like $47,000. And so with the donations we received and the match that we'll get from the city and the county, we've already got that accounted for. I wanted to tell you a little bit about our ridership. We did 15,825 trips in the fiscal year that ended end of September 2017. Generally, we average somewhere in the low 60s trips per day. Talking 60, 62, 63, something like that. It's a wide range of folks that use the bus, but it is focused mostly on, we do focus mostly on seniors. It's folks who don't have another way to get around. We don't have a lot of what we call choice riders. These are folks who don't really have any other way to get to their medical appointments, do their shopping, that kind of thing. We do run, I don't know how familiar you are with the service, we do run throughout the city. We go to the hospital, we go out all the way out to Iron Gate through Clifton Forge, so we have a pretty big footprint in terms of where we reach. A couple of recent updates. When it was looking, last couple of years when it was looking like we weren't going to get enough money to continue the service, the state stepped up and paid for a study where they had some consultants come in and actually look at the efficiency of the service. And they made a few recommendations with input from an advisory committee made up of local citizens in the localities. A couple things that changed based on that. We did increase the fare from 50 cents to $1 back in October. We've seen roughly about 11% reduction in ridership based off the previous year's numbers, but we're going to keep looking at that to see how much effect that fare increase actually has. And then they also recommended a few route changes, one of which we're looking to implement this spring, where we have sort of the end of the route here in Covington isn't used very much. We're making a run out South Carpenter to the Whitey's convenience store, and we're just not getting a lot of folks on the bus there. So they're talking about taking that part of that route and moving it somewhere else. The consensus with the advisory group seems to be to take that time and run up to Dalian Apartments. One reason is there's a population center there, but the other is that we're going up there several times a week already because we have clients with disabilities that live there that are using the service. We figure if we're going up there all the time anyways, we might be able to get more ridership by going up there every loop. The last thing I wanted to mention before answering any questions is we try to replace our vehicles every 4 years, roughly 100,000 miles. We're a little bit past that right now, so we have submitted a request to the Alleghany Foundation to pay the local match for those 2 replacement buses. We haven't heard anything yet. We're hoping to shortly, but it was a request of $5,600 for 2 vehicles that their total list price is $137. So it's only a 4% local match requirement on those vehicles. We're hoping we get a positive response from the foundation. If not, there has been some talk with the advisory committees in the localities about maybe using extra donations to apply towards the capital replacement fund. Is there anything that, Mr. Douglas, that I didn't mention that you wanted me to make sure I said?
With the study, there was an analysis of the ridership per day.
Right.
And discuss a little bit about the findings there. And
so what they did was they sent somebody to ride along the whole week, sometime in May. It was a week in May of 2017. And then based on those numbers, they said if you were going to reduce service to try to save some costs, there's certain days of the week that might look better than others to trim. Wednesday was one of those days. We've personally at Radar kept longer records since like 2012 of days of the week, and we don't see much difference. It seems like it's pretty much the same no matter what the day of the week is. And there's also extra consideration. The dialysis center is only open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so we wouldn't want to cut a day when we know we'd have to take some folks out there. They rely on getting that dialysis service. So one of the options they did present as a way to save money was to reduce the hours or the days of the service, but as of right now, it doesn't look like we're going to need to do that because we are getting the funds we need.
You probably remember as well as I do when we added the Whitey's run. And at the time, there was a handicapped individual that lived in Parish Court. Before the Whitey's run was added, she didn't qualify for the distance factor. After it was added, she did. Then shortly after that, she's moved away somewhere. So
Oh, really?
I haven't heard from her since a few months after we changed all that stuff.
Okay.
But is there any way y'all could look at a possibility of if there's somebody that's in that Whitey's area that does have a handicap and they're outside of your 3/4 mile range, that you could possibly schedule with them since we're taking Whitey's off of the run?
Well, the 3/4 mile is the shortest amount we're allowed to go out. It's not a requirement that we can't make it further.
Okay.
That's just with a rule from FTA. But we could certainly look at extending that deviation zone.
And
to
I
cover
don't
that
know
area.
that that'll ever happen, but I know that the reason we went to Whitey's a few years ago was because that particular woman lived in the Parish Court area and she wasn't getting service.
Right.
And does the run come out of Edgemont and go Carpenter back to town?
It does.
It doesn't stop at the sports complex because
I mean,
at the point it was stopping down there.
It could stop at the entrance there and let folks on and off that way,
Yeah.
but we're not running down in there.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Some of the churches in that area might be able to give you a heads up
Okay.
on, disabled members that they have.
Thank you. And since that was 2012 when we made that extension, we don't have any clients save the one you mentioned in that area.
And I'm pretty sure she's moved. I hadn't heard anything from her several years.
Thank you. I certainly appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did want to say with the passing of Mr. Zimmerman, who was an active participant on the committee, I would encourage a council member to participate on the committee if they like. I participate. I know the county has one elected representative in Mr. Griffith, but certainly optional, but I would encourage if any of you are interested in participating.
It's not terribly burdensome. We meet maybe once a quarter. Something like that. Thank you all. Have a good night.
I might go. Mr. Hunter said he's a willing party.
It might.
Mike.